A long time ago, in a small village in the country of Baharistan, there lived a poor potter named Nasir. Every day he worked hard, making beautiful pots from clay. In the evening, he loaded them in his donkey and went to the city to sell them. Despite his hard work, his life was full of struggles. Still, he remained honest and focused on his work. Near the village, there was a dense forest where a fierce lion lived. This lion was a big problem for the villagers. It often attacked the people and their animals. The villagers tried many times to catch the lion, but it always escaped. Over time, the people became so scared that they stopped going outside at night. Nasir Bakhta, however, stayed busy with his daily work. Every day he would dig clay, prepare it, and make pots. He dried the pots in the sun and then baked them in the kiln. This was his daily routine. One day, after a tiring day, he returned from the city. Usually, he tied his donkey in the stable, but that day he was so tired that he tied it to a tree in his yard and went to sleep. Meanwhile, a strong storm hit the forest. The wind was so powerful that it uprooted large trees. Lightning flashed and thunder echoed through the forest. The lion, who was hunting for prey, became frightened by the storm. Looking for a safe place, he saw an old abandoned hut near the village and hid inside. Soon, he fell asleep in a corner. Late at night, the sound of heavy rain woke Nasir. Suddenly, he remembered his donkey tied outside. Worried that his donkey was getting wet, he rushed outside. But when he reached the tree, the donkey was gone. Only the broken chain lay on the ground. Nasir Bakhta panicked. He thought, my donkey must have broken free and run away to find shelter. He decided to search for his donkey despite the rain. After unaware, he reached the abandoned hut. When lightning flashed, he saw a large animal sleeping near the door. Thinking it was his donkey, he shouted happily, I found you, you stubborn donkey. I've been searching for you in this rain for an hour, but it wasn't his donkey. It was the fierce lion. Because of the darkness, Nasir Bakhta could not tell the difference. Angry at the donkey, he slapped the lion's head and back 24 times. Then he jumped onto the lion's back and grabbed the rope tightly. He shouted, how dare you run away? If you try this again, I will feed you poisoned grass. The poor lion was terrified. He thought, if I disobey him, he will surely kill me. Filled with fear, the lion quietly obeyed. Nasir Bakhta tied the donkey to a tree in his yard and went to sleep. The next morning, as the sun rose, the villagers stepped out of their homes. When they passed Nasir Bakhta's house, they were shocked to see the fierce lion tied to a tree. Someone shouted, it's the lion, the one who has been troubling us for so long. The news spread like wildfire. Everyone praised Nasir Bakhta's bravery. They were overjoyed because the lion had killed many of their animals. But Nasir Bakhta was confused. He said, I didn't do anything special. I just brought my donkey home. When he looked closely, he realized the truth. It wasn't his donkey, but the lion. At the same time, King Darra Gul of Baharistan was worried. The neighboring kingdom of Dagestan was powerful and wanted to capture his land. Although his army was brave, the enemy had many more soldiers. The king needed a fearless commander to lead his army to victory. During a meeting, one of the king's ministers, Fatih Jang, stood up and said, Your Majesty, we don't need to search far. There is a brave man right here in our kingdom, Nasir Bakhta the Patah. He captured a fierce lion with his bare hands. Who else could lead our army better? The king was impressed and immediately sent a messenger to bring Nasir Bakhta to the palace. When Nasir Bakhta heard that he was to become the commander of the king's army, he was shocked. He thought, this must be a joke. I'm just a simple potter, but he had no choice, and went to the palace. The king welcomed him warmly and ordered him to return the next day to take charge of the army. Nasir Bakhta was scared and confused. He thought, how did I go from a potter to a commander? All because of that silly donkey. Or rather, that lion. When he returned home, he scolded the lion. It's all your fault. If you had stayed a donkey, I would still be making my pots. Now I'm a commander and I know nothing about war. His wife smiled and said, don't blame the lion. This is your good fortune. Be thankful to God. This is just the beginning of our better days. Nasir Bakhta realized he had no choice but to accept his new responsibility. The next day, Commander Nasir Bakhta arrived at the royal palace with his wife. King Daragul was very pleased to see him and handed over the command of the army to him. Nasir Bakhta was still confused but had no choice but to accept the responsibility. The entire army was gathered before him, waiting for his orders. As he stood in front of the soldiers, he remembered his wife's words, "Have faith, God will help you." With those words in mind, he took a deep breath and acted as confidently as he could. Nasir Bakhta's unusual ways and straightforward thinking made him different from other commanders. Soon, news came that King Rangsuja's army was approaching. Nasir Bakhta knew he could not defeat such a large army through strength alone. So he came up with a clever plan. He ordered his soldiers to collect all the donkeys, horses, and cattle from the nearby village. At night, he tied burning torches to the animals' backs and sent them toward the enemy camp. From a distance, the moving lights looked like thousands of soldiers charging in the dark. The enemy, believing a huge army was attacking, panicked and ran away, leaving behind their weapons and supplies. To keep the enemy confused, Nasir Bakhta spread rumors. He told his officers loudly, "Our soldiers wrestle lions for training. No enemy can stand against us." A spy from King Rangsuga's camp overheard this and reported it back. The enemy soldiers became afraid, believing Nasir's army was full of warriors stronger than lions. When the enemy king Rangsuja heard that Baharistan had appointed a new commander who had captured a ferocious lion with his bare hands, he grew worried. He thought, if this man can catch a lion, he must be a very dangerous and fearless warrior. Out of fear, he decided to negotiate for peace instead of continuing the war. Soon, an agreement was reached between the two kingdoms and the war was called off. King Darugul was overjoyed and declared a grand celebration across the kingdom. He rewarded Nasir Bakhta with gold, land, and a high rank in the royal court. Nasir Bakhta's life changed completely. From a poor potter struggling to make ends meet, he became a respected and wealthy commander. Yet, despite his new position, he remained humble and grateful for the blessings he had received. One day, while sitting in his grand new house, his wife said with a smile, "See, sometimes what seems like a problem can become a blessing. If that lion had not come into our lives, would we be sitting here today?" Nasir Bakhta laughed and replied, "You are right. Who knew that mistaking a lion for a donkey would make me a commander? Life is full of unexpected twists, and sometimes what seems like a problem can turn into a great opportunity." Nasir Bakhta, a simple potter, never imagined that a misunderstanding with a lion would lead him to become a respected commander. His journey teaches us that courage, quick thinking, and faith in oneself can help overcome any challenge. Instead of fearing change, we should embrace it with an open heart, as it may lead us to something far greater than we ever imagined. True success is not just about wealth and power, but also about humility, gratitude, and making the best of every situation.